It's Wave 105. Welcome to the evening show. Jack Savoretti, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, man. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have somebody in whose music I personally like. And I'll tell you, it does make a big difference, though.
For me too.
And it's I've just been sort of looking into your background as well. You are the epitome of multicultural, sort of heritage, because born in the UK, living in Sweden? Switzerland.
Yeah, Italian family. I'm kind of the result of the Second World War. I'm the grandchild of the Second World War. My parents I've got German, Polish, Austrian, Italian, and English roots.
Because did I read a thing that your grandfather was sort of hiding during the Second World War? Is that?
No. My mother's father, he was Jewish, and his wife was German. That wasn't very in at the time, so they came to London. That's how we ended up in London. My grandfather was actually the head of the partisans in the Liguria region, and they were the ones who helped the Allies defeat the fascists. So my grandfather in Italy was quite a big deal. He's got roads named after him and statues, and he was, I guess, a war hero to a certain extent. So he was a partisan. So, and I'm lucky because I was given his name. So it's nice when I go home, I get a lot of
VIP treatment.
No, I don't know about VIP, but I definitely get a lovely, in that part of Italy, which is Genoa, I have a lovely history there, and that's very nice to see. It's always very touching when we go back.
Because you've mentioned Genoa, the football team there is very close to you, isn't it?
Very, very close to me.
You filmed your video there.
Filmed the video at home there. It's funny because it's a song that's about, a lot of people ask me, exactly like yourself, where's home for you? And I really struggle with that question, and I struggle with finding an answer because I feel it in many places. But at the same time, I'm always the guy from out of town. So I sort of wanted to think about that, and I've realized that that feeling of home is just a feeling. It doesn't really matter where you are. It can happen thanks to a person, thanks to a family member, thanks to a smell or a taste or a weird, sound can suddenly make you feel at home. And I'm always kind of not looking for that, but I'm very appreciative of when I do get it, probably because I didn't have a solid home growing up. So that song is kind of about that. And one of the places that came to my mind when we were making the video, they asked me, the question again, well, where do you want to film it? What's home to you? The only place I could think of was the stadium, because I went there when I was 5 years old for the first time, and every time I go back, I'm 5 years old. I mean, if I go back with my dad, I almost hold his hand. I have that same, I go straight back to being a kid. So that's the feeling that this song is talking about.
I know you shot the video there. Have you actually performed in the stadium there in front of the fans as well?
Yeah, we performed that day, and we were asked to perform 2 weeks before for the Genoa derby, which is Genoa Sampdoria. But we were called 2 days before going, and they told us they couldn't guarantee our safety, because football is a pretty serious thing in Italy, for the good, the bad, and the ugly. But they invited us back 2 weeks later to play for Genoa Juventus, and that's the biggest team in Italy probably, and we thought we're definitely going to lose, because a lot of people thought we were nuts to do this, because if we played and then the Genoa lose, we're going to have the stigma of the unlucky charms, and you're not going to walk the streets of that city for a while. And this is something that means something to me, so it was a bit of a risk. I didn't want the fans suddenly associating me with a shocking defeat to Juventus. But we thought, only the brave, and we did it. We played a couple songs before the game, played the single and filmed it. And on the 94th minute, Genoa won the game. It was the last touch of the game. It was something that you couldn't have scripted. It was out of a Disney movie. It was out of a Spielberg movie. And we were lucky that we had a whole camera crew there filming this moment where the whole place erupted, and as did I. And so it was a great moment.
And you brought your guitar in as well. Are you going to do a couple of acoustic ones? Is that one of the ones you're going to do for us?
Yeah, I'll do that at the end, because that's the new single. So yeah,
this is what we want to. Now, I've got to ask you as well. You've got that. As I said, we touched on the heritage. Where's the musical sort of talents come from? Then have you got that from one side or from another?
I don't know where the playing comes from, because neither of my parents really played. But I always grew up. There was always music in the house. And good music. I mean, I could safely say good music because it was pretty varied. My dad was a Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash, and a lot of Italian artists, and that was always very much his thing. Joan Baez, even Dylan to a degree, Leonard Cohen. And my mom was more the Motown sound, Marvin Gaye, and brought me up with a lot more of that, Otis Redding, a bit more soulful. So there was this nice mixture, I guess, of music growing up, and that's sort of, I guess, where I picked it up from. But more than influence musically, they were amazing and always making me feel very good about making music. They were always impressed by it. They always made me feel good about it. It was never considered a waste of time for them, which I sometimes see. I saw in my friends, in their own families, like if they wanted to be musicians, it wasn't considered a very
It's not like an achievable gain.
No,
is it,
exactly.
really?
It was sort of like a waste of time. Or what are you doing that for? But I was lucky that in my family, in my household, and my parents especially, they were always they loved it. They always wanted me to play. They would always say, grab your guitar and play us a song. And I was very fortunate for that. And they're still when I write a song, they're still sometimes the first people. Most of the time, the first people I send a song to is my dad or my mom to sort of see, what do you think about this one? I'll send it there and see what they think.
I want to touch on your songwriting and how you came to do songwriting in a moment, but you are here with your guitar as well. So, what's the first song you're going to do for us?
This is a bit of a ballad, and this is a song. Well, you can take it for how you want, but a song about guilt, I guess, to so to speak, and it's a song called "Broken Glass." Broken glass on the floor by my bed, lying next to books I've never even read. Wide awake, all the mess that I've made, everything I've taken, you're the one who paid. Forget what I have done. Sometimes I've lost you, sometimes I've won. Just let me do everything I can, 'cause everything I do is for you. There's a darkness to my shadow on the wall. Every time I try to stand, that's when I fall. There's a fever burning deep in my bones. Even when I'm with you, I'm on my own. Forget what I have done. Sometimes I've lost you, sometimes I've won. Just let me do everything I can, 'cause everything I do is for you. I do it all for you. My, oh my, you're the lighthouse when I'm lost at sea. You're my band-aid when I bleed. Am I hypnotizing you like you're hypnotizing me? Forget what I have done. Sometimes I've lost you, sometimes I've won. Just let me do everything I can, 'cause everything I do is for you. I do it all for you. Hey, my broken glass on the floor by my bed, lying next to books I've never even read. Wide awake, all the mess that I've made, everything I've taken, you're the one who paid.
Brilliant. Jack Savoretti with us tonight on Wave 105. That was called Guilt, and you said take it any way you want to take it. There's always there's always personal stuff that goes into songs, and that's one of the things I wanted to touch on, because you started off writing poetry more than music, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, poetry is a big word. I started off writing these kind of short little, I guess you'd call them poems, but creative writing was the first time. I was pretty rubbish at school, and it was the first time in class on an assignment that that came up in the curriculum or whatever you want to call it, and I was actually I got quite a decent grade and was told that was pretty good. And it was the first time I'd ever been told in an educational area, because I was into sports back then, and so it was the first time somebody said, that's pretty good. So I thought, oh, that's quite cool, that's a good feeling. I didn't know I could do that. And then it was through that I kind of a lot of my friends were playing music at the time, and I was getting very into certain type of music, and that helped too. But initially I wanted to be a writer. I wasn't very good at it, so I sort of then went to music, and then I wasn't very good at being a musician. So it was kind of the combination of the two art forms that I was quite mediocre at. I was able to find a place that I could express what I was trying to say.
And is it different writing to sing as rather than writing for sort of, like to see on paper? Is that a different? You have to get into a different mindset for that.
For me, it is because music is very gracious in its way of complementing what sometimes the word itself can't necessarily get across. I mean, help, I need somebody is just a sentence, but if you sing it like Lennon and McCartney, it's got real angst in it. Just the delivery of words can really add to the meaning. So there is definitely a lot to be said about that. I always, not always actually, but most of the time write together. I need to have a guitar to write. I don't really if I write just alone, I don't think of it as songwriting. It's just writing. It's poetry. It's something else. But I like within the songwriting, I think there needs to be an element of poetry. Otherwise, you're just kind of throwing words over music.
And you're working with a guitarist as well, aren't you now?
Yeah.
Well, which is a weird thing to do when you're obviously, a guitar player yourself. Why bring somebody else in?
Well, he is my guitarist. He's Pedro Vito. He's somebody who's worked with me for over almost 10 years now, 8 years, coming up to 8 years actually. He's the longest sort of person in the business that I've been working with. And we met on a double-decker bus in London 8 years ago, both of us looking for bands. And we stuck together, and being on the road a lot, you go through a lot of stuff, and we always thought, well, why aren't we writing, Why aren't we doing something with our time here? Because I was either writing and then he was writing for himself. So we thought, let's start writing together. And we did. And you never stop learning from people, from your peers, from people around you. And it wasn't so much the guitaring aspect wasn't really important. It was more just being able to sit down and write with a good friend. And that's kind of how I like to work now, is always write with good friends.
I can totally. It's much easier talking to somebody. It's like for my job, I much rather talk to somebody than talk to myself. So I can kind of see how that works.
You bounce off each other.
Absolutely.
It helps. Yeah,
absolutely. And you're going to be hitting the road in this country as well. I'm very pleased to see you coming to the Wedgwood Rooms in Portsmouth, which is it's an iconic music venue.
It's the first show of the tour. Actually, it's going to be the opening show. So that's where we're going to kind of try everything out for the first time, which is always exciting.
Tuesday the 10th is when you're going to be there. You're doing the whole country, aren't you? Birmingham, Nottingham, Leeds, Newcastle, Glasgow. So literally, what's it like being on the road now? Does the novelty wear off?
I don't know. It's always changing. We have a nicer tour bus. We have people that help out now, so that definitely helps, because it gets tough. It doesn't get tough. That's the wrong word I would use for it. It's a great job, but it can get times where it can get a little bit tiresome, purely because music is the last thing you do. I mean, that hour and a half that you see us on stage, that's the best part of our day. The rest is all kind of, hurry up and wait, as we like to call it. You're rushed around, you're pushed around, you're doing things that you don't necessarily want to be doing. So that hour and a half that you see the band on stage, that's our holiday for the day. That's our great moment. That's not work. That's not the work part. But the before and after can sometimes be a little bit tedious, but it's great. And to be honest, I'm very lucky that I have a great band now, and I have a great crew. Everybody that's involved with the show or comes with us it's a genuine band of brothers, and a great feeling. And yeah, so I'm always excited to get on the road. The only downside, I guess, is being away from your family. That's something that's difficult.
It's the same with any job, though, isn't it? Really?
Absolutely.
At least you're doing something. At least you're being paid to do something.
Absolutely.
You love doing, which I always say is
the bacon.
Absolutely. And because the album is called "Written in Scars." That's an interesting. There's got to be a story behind that.
Yeah, there is. It was initially a title of a song that we wrote, "Written in Scars," which was born from it's definitely from personal battle of myself and everybody that I see around me and everything. I think from day-to-day life, but it was also the song "Written in Scars," which is on the album, stemmed from kind of global events. I hate to say, because that sounds like a very sentence, but you can't help open a paper, turn on the news, or just travel around and see that things are going a little bit sour. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but there's things happening. And this was kind of just after the Arab Spring, so the world was kind of awakening. A big part of the world was really waking up to different ideas, different political movements, different forms of revolution. We had the riots in London. All these things were going on. There was a certain fever in the air, and that kind of just came out in this song. And that's what it was initially about. And then when we started thinking about album titles, it just seemed to sort of have it all written in. It's what it says on the can is exactly what it is. And these songs are written in scars. They don't come from. They come from struggle, they come from strife and all that, but they come from the real world. They come from real life, not necessarily, I don't live in a war zone, but every day is a battle, as it is for yourself or for anybody else. Just having a family, just keeping a job or paying the bills or getting places and, staying healthy. This kind of thing is something that I don't think we touch enough on, without it being depressing or without it being doom and gloom. I don't think it's touched enough of in musical culture, especially these days. And it used to be so much celebrated. The common man, the day-to-day life was the roots of all great songwriting. And now it seems to be based on other things and very material
Songwriting's a business
things.
now, though, isn't it? That's what it's turned into.
Yeah, it is. And it's very easy to fall into it when you are a singer-songwriter and you are competing with others and you are trying to pay the bills and keep your songs interesting to those who are going to get them heard. People do want to, they want to hear certain things, but if you want to be a chef, the last thing you want to be cooking is a Big Mac every night. You know what I mean? That's not what I think people sign up for, and it can happen though. Nothing against Big Macs. I love Big Macs. but you know what I mean.
Don't want Big Macs. It's funny. It's a totally different perspective. I was talking to Megan Trainor this morning. She said that she wants to write hits and she wants to do, she studied how hits are made and she just wants to have hit after hit after hit after hit. Whereas you're kind of more sort of writing from the heart, aren't you? And if you get a hit, all well and good.
I think even people writing from the hit are sometimes writing from the heart. They're just trying to achieve something else. That's what they're trying to achieve. Everybody's trying to achieve something with every action they do, I guess. Otherwise we would just sit still. But it's more, the hit factor of it isn't what stresses me out. The quality factor stresses me out. Like I actually that's completely wrong. If I have to start thinking about it as a hit, that's far too much pressure. That's not what I want. That's not why I signed up. I would have worked in the city if I wanted that kind of pressure. I don't like the competitiveness of that side of the industry. I would have loved to have been a football player, but I hated the competitiveness, that side of it. I loved playing, but I hated match day. I was that guy. So it's the same in music. I love playing music, but I hate sitting there competing against other musicians, which it just seems a little bit of an oxymoron to me, but I understand how people can do that, but it's not what I like to do.
I think there's always a third career as a diplomat.
Yeah.
Best answer I've ever had. That's really good. Really good. You're going to do one more song for us, aren't you?
Yeah, I sure will if you want. This is the new single. This is a song called Home. Out of sight, out of mind. In the darkness there's no light. There you go, and now I know what it means to stay and fight. I won't give up, I won't give in. I'll give it everything. This feeling is real. And I wait for my love to come home, home, home. Come home, 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 home. I wait for my love to come home, home, home. Come home, home, home. Help me stand, help me rise. I can't bear the changing tide. This is the road I chose to take. No regrets and no mistakes. They say patience is a virtue, but I can't get through, no. This feeling is real. I only know that now I wait for my love to come home, home, home. Come home, home, home. I wait for my love to come home, home, home. Come home, home, home. Hey, oh, no, no. My, 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 my. Whoa, my, 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 my. This feeling is real. I only know that now I wait for my love to come home, 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 come home, home, home. I wait for my love to come home, 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 come home, home, whoa, whoa, and I wait for my love to come home, 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 come home, home, home. I wait for my love to come home, 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 come home, home, whoa, 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 whoa.
Absolutely brilliant.
Thank you very much, man.